think that overall we had some really great moments. I already shouted you out for the collaboration during the group work time. That was really great. One reason why it went really well is because we were passing the marker and making sure that multiple different people were writing on the board. I also did see like some groups that when they realized they were stuck or they weren't sure what to do, there was at least one group that raised their hand and let me know that they were stuck. And so they didn't continue to sit there being stuck. They actually got some help from a neighboring group. Also want to shout out that group that went over to help. They were not telling them what to do. They were trying to guide their thinking. During the gallery walk, I think some of us were not exactly sure how to have that conversation as we went from board to board. And so I wanted to offer up one thing I saw. I want to shout out Daniel. Daniel did a really awesome job at every single board of asking a question for his group. So he would say at the board, how is this pattern similar to ours? How is this pattern different from ours? It was just really great group facilitation. It helped his group have some really good conversations. So during the gallery walk, sometimes it can feel like I'm just stopping at this board and like admiring what the group did, and we're not really talking about what they did. So one of the things in math is if you're not talking, you're not learning. So it's really important that when you're doing a gallery walk, you're having those conversations, and facilitating the conversation is one great way to make that happen. So the question was how the patterns were similar to each other. So we're going to start with that one, and we're going to talk to our groups. So if you were somebody in the front row who turned to a table group before, you're going to now talk to people who were not with you at the whiteboards, just your table groups, okay? And you're trying to come to an agreement with your table group about how these patterns were similar to each other. What language would you use to describe them, their similarities, okay? So if you need to turn, let's turn, and we're going to take 30 seconds to have that conversation.
Well, we were in the same group, and we kind of came to. What was the
Except that one?
Yeah. Were more of them like the same, or more of them different from ours?
Oh, Earl.
Look who's here.
You can ask him what he said now.
Yeah, girl.
What?
Yeah, girl.
You can ask him your question. Remember you forgot.
Yeah, let's go back together. Let's go back together.
I was just trying to drop off the calculator.
No, you're gonna stay.
Everybody in here knows that we're
You gotta stay for at least a minute, Cheryl, because this conversation is super relevant. Yeah, so I heard some really good things that people were talking about. Grace, can I call you Grace? Because I know you and your group, you were trying to like kind of figure out how to put words to this. What did you come up with?
Was it coefficient?
Okay, tell us more.
Actually, I forgot.
What was it that you initially noticed about the patterns?
They're all were adding by the same number.
They were all adding by the same number. Okay, now where did you get the word coefficient from?
I forgot.
Was that from somebody, did your group talk about that?
Yeah.
Do you remember who in your group brought up coefficient? Homer, do you think you could add on to that? So when you're saying it's adding by the same amount each time, what's that making you think of? Slope. Slope. Why does that make you think of slope, Omar? Ooh. Build on that. Dylan, you said slope too. Tell us more.
Yeah, the patterns just kept like increasing, or some would decrease by the same amount, but it was every time.
Can we all point at the pattern that was decreasing? Group 4. I saw a lot of people said that was the one that did not belong. What other words did people think of to associate with that idea? That they were adding by the same each time? Grayson? Linear. Ashton, I heard you said that too. Why linear? Why did you think of linear?
Because on the row, linear equations are ones that are a straight line, which if we graphed this on like in some If we graphed it, it would be a clear map.
Interesting. What would make it linear? How do we know when we graph it, it would be a line, Addison?
Because it's adding by the same number every time.
But wait, were they all adding?
No, or because it's the same number.
Ah, Miranda, build on that. Constant rate of change. Awesome. Aw, snap it for Mr. Earl, your math teacher last year, for making sure we've got all these concepts and ideas.
And the year before.
And the year
They're
before.
not tired. I'm asking you guys, I wasn't good earlier this time ago.
What about the year before that?
Yeah, you guys know how I feel about same year.
Okay,
That's
so, what we're going to do is, take your notebooks out, and if you don't have that notebook, I'm gonna make sure you've got something else that you're gonna write on. And in your notebook, we're gonna summarize this idea that we just heard. We were just reminded